Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. This week on my Facebook Live I showed this card which is for my Nature's Harvest class, and we looked at this template and I showed how to make the actual template for it. And today what I want to do is to show you how to step it up a little bit. So if you can make this basic template, you can make the stepped up version too. It uses the Nature's Harvest stamp set, and I'm going to be using the dies and just small amounts of designer series paper. This is a piece out of the Nature's Harvest or designer series paper. I've just forgotten what it's called. Let me just have a quick look. Sorry. Harvest Meadow, the paper. And there's lots of beautiful papers in here. I love this pack. And so what I wanted to show you was just how to add a little embossing and maybe a die cut to really step your cards up without much extra effort. So the basic card is the same, except I'm going to put it on a different colour base. I've got the Misty Moonlight base. I'm going to fold it over and let's find my bone folder, which has gone walkabout. Here it is. If you don't have a bone folder, don't forget you can always use an acrylic block. Just go over with your block. Okay. And then I'm going to do a layer before we make these three pieces. And what I've done is I've taken a slightly smaller piece of the thin basic white, and that's going to be our layer. But I wanted it to have just a little bit of embossing, so a little bit of texture. And this is the Time Worn Type embossing folder. Now, I'm not sure if you can actually see the words or anything on here. It does have some words. I can make out a few. Like this one says harvest, and there's lots of little words on. But it's a really good, just sort of a basic texture to go on the back. So all I did was I took my piece of basic white, and this is the front where you can see the Stampin' Up logo and this line. I popped my card in, made sure that it was level by popping the bottom of it across that line, closed it up, and then put it through my cut and emboss machine. Now it doesn't fit through the mini machine, you do need the bigger one for this. And make sure that you put this hinge side through first as you roll it through. And then once it comes out the other end, you only need to roll it once, you don't need to go backwards and forwards. But once it comes out, then you will have this. Now you can probably tell from the way that I oriented this that my paper is going to go portrait. So my original card was landscape, but this one we're going to make it portrait. If you want to be making it landscape, just make sure when you put your paper in that you lay it this way. And that's only because this is a directional embossing folder. With a lot of the folders, it doesn't make any difference. But if you want it to be landscape on this one and for the words to be running the right way, just make sure your paper is landscape. Okay, so I'm going to attach this one because this piece is finished. And you can attach with a liquid glue or with Stampin' Seal, whatever you normally like to use. Okay, and then it's got just a tiny little border all the way around. Okay. And then next we're going to make these three pieces because that's exactly the same way that we made it for this card and for the Facebook Live. So you just need 3 pieces of designer series paper, and if you check on my blog, all the sizings will be on there. So you've got your 3 pieces of paper and your 3 pieces of Misty Moonlight card. And I'm going to just attach those. If you do have a paper that you want to use and it has a larger pattern on, and you can get your pattern to run across the whole card or down the whole card, just make sure that when you cut it, the orientation is correct, and then when you pop it on your card, your picture will appear. So if it's something like the Peaceful Cabin paper and it has the trees on, you don't want to have the top of the tree and then the bottom of the tree, and you know, the middle of the tree is in the wrong place. So just make sure that your paper runs the correct way. There we go. So that's the second one, and here's the third one. And then these are going to go just down here, and I find it easier to attach them if I line them up first before I start to glue. And I just make sure that I've got the same border top and the sides, and then I'll do the bottom one. Let's move that up a little bit, and then it's easy just to pop the middle one in. Okay, so I find it easier to do the top and the bottom and then the middle one. And I'm going to attach these. If you've chosen an embossing folder that is a little bit deeper than this, or you know, the pattern comes up a little bit deeper, use liquid glue, because then you can get into all those little nooks and crannies. Just make sure we've got that border on the top and the left and the right. And then the last one, we'll just pop it in the middle. And I'm sorry if you can hear that like rumbling and banging noise. It's actually the gardeners on the golf course at the back of us. They're collecting leaves and mulching as they go along. And they seem to think that the end of my garden is the best place to store the mulcher today. Okay, so there we are. So exactly the same base as this, just with that little extra embossing folder, and then our 3 pieces. And I've used my circles, my layering circles, and I have mine numbered from 1 all the way up to 8, 8 being the largest. I'm using the second to largest, this number 7 size. And I've already cut my little card out, and that's going to be our floral decoration here. So I've got a little piece of scratch paper here, and I've got the stamps already mounted. I'm going to use Memento Black. Let me put my paper back straight, sorry. I just knocked it then as I reached for the Memento. Okay, and I'm going to put my stamp pad onto the stamp because I don't need all of it inking up. I only need sort of up to about here. So I'm just inking the part that I want. And then just stamping onto my circle. Hold it for a few seconds, and there we are. I'll get my chamois and give this a clean. As quick as that. Okay. Now, let me find where I put my blend pens. On this one, I used the Daffodil Delight, the light and the dark, and I only used the light Old Olive. But you can make these flowers any colours you like. Excuse me. I've seen lots of people make them in reds and purples, and that is so pretty. Okay, so I've only used the dark for the middles of the flowers, and then I'm going to use my light, the same as I did for this card, just for the petals. I'm not going over them and giving them lots of different colour or definition. I'm literally just colouring in once. If you wanted to do lots of shading, you could use your dark and your light together, and that would look really pretty too. It would also look nice with watercolour crayons or Stampin' Right markers, anything that you love to colour with. It's a really easy image to colour. And Stampin' Up have done most of the work anyway by adding the little lines in. So it automatically looks like shading in some areas. Now I'm just going to use my green for the other little pieces. I've got a tiny little piece of a leaf here. And this little piece here under the flower. And there's quite a lot of shading on the stems themselves, so you don't really need too much colour. And it's really quick and easy to colour anyway. It's just a couple of long lines. That's all there is. There we go. Right, I'll pop those to one side. Now let me find my other card. Remove this scratch paper because we don't need this piece. So behind this, I wanted to add just a die cut that comes with the kit, comes with the set. And I'm using this piece. I'm not using this colour, but I'm using this long, tall grass die. The dies do also have some of these cone flowers in, but I just like this shape. So I'm using this one, and what I've cut it out in is a little, just a narrow piece of our gold foil. And I thought that would match the little twine piece that we have on as well. So I'm going to add the gold foil piece here. I might need to trim the ends off, I'm not sure yet. But no, actually, I like those little ends poking through, and I like that on an angle. So I think I might pop that just on an angle. I'm not going to glue it down until I've got my sentiment ready, because if I glue it down now and I don't have the sentiment, oh, where is my little piece of card? Here it is. Then, you know, it might not fit. And on my first card here, I stamped the thank you, and just on a little scrap of card. But for this one, I'm actually stamping the thank you and using this little piece, this little die cut, to cut it out with. So let's see. Oh, it's nice even in the middle, that, and with the thank you, but I think I'm just going to put it, let's just see. I think I'm still going to put it over to the left and have the thank you down here. Okay. So I can glue this on, and I'm going to use the liquid glue for this. I don't want to stick it all down flat. I'd like some pieces just sticking up a little bit, just to give it a little bit more sort of texture, and so that it looks like it's sort of floating a little bit. There we go. There's as much glue as I want on there. And then this I'm going to pop on dimensionals. Oops, just jumping up. Let's take the little backings off. Throw those away. I'm going to make sure that this is sort of a little bit on the top, some on the bottom. Oh, that wasn't quite stuck. Let me just hold that for a second or two so that the glue sticks. There we go. And I'm going to make sure that this hits the top, the middle and the bottom. There we go. And then my thank you I'm going to put on dimensionals as well. I do love this layout. It's such an easy one, and you know, different papers make it look totally different. And then last of all, I'm going to use a little bit of the Simply Elegant gold trim, and I'm going to get my little bow maker. I don't want too big a bow. There we are. And then I'll find my little ribbon scissors. I just chop that off. Put the lid back on those. And just with a little glue dot, I'm going to attach that bow to our flowers. I'm going to put a glue dot on the knot behind, and then I squash it in a little bit so that it's all on the knot and there's not a piece sticking out over the ribbon that anything else might catch on. And let's just add this to this middle flower. There we go. Oh, now that little loop's just a tiny bit longer. Let's just move that. There we are. So, on the inside, I will be putting another little piece of white paper, and I probably will stamp the flowers again for this piece. Now, I do have the same flowers stamped, but I used a smaller circle. So if you want to use a smaller circle, and then you could use either the next biggest circle or the scallop, and you could do like the contrasting colour. So you could do the scallop circle in the misty moonlight, and then you would have, you know, just a little extra there. Now, what I might also do, because I've got this done, is I might just glue this in like this. In fact, I will. Let's pop this inside. And then for my envelope, I will either use a little piece of the designer series paper on the back of the flap, or I can stamp the flowers again on the front of the envelope. So I can't put this one on dimensionals, so I'm just going to pop it on with our adhesive here, and then it won't stick out too much or anything. There we go. And then I'll decorate my envelope, and that's my card all made. Now let me just pop that back straight again for you, as I keep just knocking my table. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you like my cards. I hope you go back and watch my Facebook Live to see how I made this design with some of the Christmas papers. And then I hope you give this one a go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again really soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.